We have one more presentation and then a panel. You know, we touched on addiction a little bit with the Nebulo Pharmaceuticals. The panel will be psychedelics companies and investors discussing that space. But first, an exciting international opportunity I'm very, very excited about. KUMARA Farms. KUMARA Farms, their CEO, Andres Vazquez, is here to tell you about his activations in Latin America. Take it away.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who are here. Good afternoon. So I'm going to start right now with, should I use it one? Okay, great. Thank you. So KUMARA Farms, first and foremost, we are an impact company. So our initial investors are impact investors. And that means for some of you who may not be familiarized with this term, that as a company, we have more than just financial objectives. We have to provide our shareholders not only with financial return, but also returns in the terms of positive impact in the environmental and social space. So to do that, this is the green, yes. So the problem that we decide to address is the decline of the global health. As you are all aware, because you're here working in cannabis, global health has a huge problem, not only because the younger generations are getting sicker and sicker with time, but our global healthcare systems are collapsing. So the proposal that we provide to the markets is that we want to provide tools to people so that they can manage their own health and well-being sustainably, okay, and without having to go through so much healthcare support. To do that, what we are doing is proposing a portfolio of product based off medicinal plants that have been used for centuries, for communities and indigenous people that are, well, in our country, but sure in all countries around the world. And at this moment, one of the advantages that we propose to the potential investors is that we hold the first and the only cannabis cultivation license in Peru. That, coupled with the fact that we are a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility, makes us one of very few companies that can say that we are a pharmaceutical entity with a cannabis cultivation license in a low-cost country. On top of that, we have designed through our network an advantageous access to new botanicals in this initial stage from the Amazon in South America. So just a quick, some pictures. I mean, this is our farm. We have a 150-acre farm north of Lima in Peru. I don't know if, is anybody here ever been to Peru? Vacations? No, we're a subtropical country with a geography that allows us to have what we call tropical desert. So there's an area where you have abundant sunlight with no rain, okay? And that allows us to have kind of a natural greenhouse, which is an optimum space for cannabis growth. So we hold this first and only cannabis cultivation license in the country. We are a pharmaceutical company, and we also hold licenses to import and manage cannabis genetics. The farm includes the pharmaceutical manufacturing facility within the premises. So as you will imagine, that allows us not only to cultivate there, process the product, and have the finished product manufactured on site. In Peru, to be a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility, you have to go through a GMP process. So we are a GMP-approved facility, obviously under Peruvian standards. So to be very honest, we still need to go through additional audit process in order to have, for example, EU GMP certificate. We need an additional process, but we're already starting from the base being a pharmaceutical company. This is quite recent for us. These plants, I think that the bottom center picture has 1 week old. This is our new and the first growing cycle of cannabis in the country, and for the country is the first legal cannabis grow ever. We have designed and selected and designed this facility in order to be lowest cost production. Okay, so we are located in South America. Obviously, you've heard a lot about the Colombian advantage on production costs. Well, in our region, there's a slight difference. We have no rain. We control the water supply from beneath the grow. okay? And that allows us to have lowest pest pressure that in other areas where there's rain. By that, our cost of managing pests is lower than any Colombian grow. By that, we are aiming to have a lowest cost in the region for the cannabis. On top of that, our facility allows us not only to process the cannabis flower, but to manufacture extracts as well as finished products on site under GMP standards. That will allow us the flexibility to approach the market, starting with a low cost, but then with this additional process at a pharmaceutical standard if the market decides to go that way. From the commercial point of view, we're already active since last year. Peruvian market is already open for cannabis derived for medicinal purposes since 2019. And our sales started last year. We have already registered and launched products, branded products into the market, as well as ingredients. At this moment, as you may imagine, our growth is just starting. So we are basically working with other partners from Colombia, Canada, USA, and Uruguay. We are already very soon to be launching some of the brands that we are presenting into the market. Farm, that is a brand that we're going to be using for our extracts as ingredients. Plantandina is an umbrella brand that will include finished products, not only from cannabis. And Hope by Fran Brivio is a third-party brand that we're launching in partnership with the most renowned cannabis activists in the country. In addition to that, to reinforce our commercial activity in the country, we have already reached investment terms with a local cannabis clinic, as well as a local specialized natural medicine retailer that will provide us advantage access to the market. At this moment, we're working basically through the pharmacy network, licensed pharmacies, and we are above 40 points of sale and already out of the capital, Lima, as well. The additional plans that we're going to be working besides cannabis, as I was saying earlier, basically are coming out of the Amazon. And to do this, we have partnered with Laboratorio Taquihuasi. This is very important for us. Taquihuasi is an institution in the country. They have more than 30 years using Amazonian medicinal plants to treat patients in a therapeutic center that is recognized by our country in Tarapoto, which is in the Amazon jungle north of Peru. They work with several species, including ayahuasca, which is already known in the psychedelic space. I know there is a presentation after this one, and I'm sure that, and I hope that ayahuasca will be included in some of those opportunities. Well, Taquihuasi has more than 30 years working, treating patients with ayahuasca in the therapeutic center. And we have joined forces in order to take all the products that they are already working with these indigenous communities and bring them to the market, I would say, in a more modern fashion. I cannot say better, because we are very respectful of the knowledge and the technology that exists in indigenous communities. It's not scientific, maybe, under modern standards, but it is true, it's real, and it has a lot of evidence. I have to say that our impact approach is also relying on other things. The respect of these indigenous communities. I don't know if anybody here is aware of the Nagoya Protocol. But if you're not, Nagoya Protocol is an international convention that established the guidelines for countries to respect and value the genetic resources that are hidden in nature, as well as the traditional knowledge of indigenous communities. Well, the business model that we propose and we develop with Taquihuasi is respectful of those guidelines. What do I mean by this? An indigenous community that is at the origin of a supply chain of a product that we will then take to market will not only act as a supplier of raw material for us, they are a partner within the value chain. So they will be compensated accordingly. And this has a twofold effect on the impact. First, obviously, you can say, yeah, well, you are compensating economically this community, and this is positive for all of them. But that has a specific advantage. If we want to protect and preserve, for example, the Amazonian jungle, we need people to live there. The jungle will not be protected by its own, because if you leave the area, it will soon be populated by illegal mining or other illegal activities. And that has already been studied and known. So by providing, through this business model, an income that allows those communities to stay on site, working in the jungle, we're not only saving them, but we're saving also the ecosystem where they live. So that's a double effect, and it's very important. It's a very innovative approach that we're trying to develop with Taquihuasi, and we really expect and work to the markets understand and receive this information, and obviously we are planning to create customers' loyalty based on this business model. In addition to Taquihuasi, we have already established an agreement and a cooperation with the most renowned cannabis clinic in Peru, which is Canahope. Canahope at this moment treats above 2,000 patients, okay? And Dr. Max Alzamora in the picture is the most known cannabis, I would say, experienced doctor in the country, not only in Peru, he's already known in Colombia, in other countries where he has done presentations, and he not only guides part of the work that we do on product development, but he is a leader of Canahope, where we join forces to provide benefits to these patients. Another cooperation that is, reinforcing our activity is Organical. Organical is a telemedicine platform that is providing medical consultations to patients through the web. Organical has a plan to expand throughout South America, and we have reached an agreement where we're going to support their work in the region by them taking us to the countries. We're already recruiting doctors in Brazil, for example, where Organical is going to provide the medical consultations, and we will be providing products using the compassionate use system to export from Peru into Brazil. And finally, this cooperation that in fact will turn into an investment pretty soon is a pharmacy, dispensary-like, that it will be opening in Lima in December. And the idea is that this pharmacy has also the capabilities and certifications to be pharmaceutical compounding site. So through this cooperation, besides the rest of the commercial agreement that we have, we look to expand our commercial activity in the country, having some sort of control on this retail point and being able to reinforce our product development, basically not only for cannabis, but for the additional product that we have with Taquihuasi. The timeline that we're proposing, so we started our, I would say, known activity in 2020 with initial imports and sales of products in Peru. And the first distribution partnership started then. This year, we established our partnership with the wellness retail that I mentioned earlier. We start selling THC in Peru. THC's first import probably around June this year. They're already well positioned in the country. Partnership with the cannabis clinic already done. And the first cultivation in Peru, which I showed you the picture, started 2 weeks ago. So with that, we are more or less accomplished on the targets that we planned for the year. Next year, the first cultivation is key, and we plan to do our initial approach into the export market. One of the activities that is key for us, and that's in our plans, and we're looking for partners at this moment, is that we want to launch our non-cannabis products into the US. Some of those medicinal plants are already known in the market in the US. And one of the advantages of working with non-cannabis products is that we have more flexibility to market and advertise those products than with cannabis. So the idea is that we will present our brands first with the non-cannabis products, and then as regulation moves forward, we will be including our cannabis products within the portfolio. This is a look at the organizational structure that we have. The holdings is KUMARA Farms, and KUMARA Farms is the owner of the other entities that we control in the region. So we have a company in Peru, Can Farm Peru. That's the one that I've done most of the activities that I already presented. We also have a company in Colombia, Can Farm Colombia, that through another entity called Montebello Verde holds a non-psychoactive cannabis cultivation license that we plan to use for seed production. In addition to that, we have a small vehicle called Can Farm Health that was designed to channel investment into research originally oriented into the US. Unfortunately, when that project was going to be launched, COVID appeared in our lives, so that had to put on hold. But the vehicle is there, is already open for investment to these purposes. Our team is, I would say, probably our average age is higher than most cannabis companies that you see, but we provide a lot of experience in other sectors to the company. So our executive committee is basically composed of executives from our largest shareholder at this moment, a company called ShareDex, and that includes also executive with experience here in the US. And our local team is very, I would say, diversified, including Silvia, for example, with a large experience in healthcare, Sandro, who is a very known marketing and communication specialist in Peru, Dr. Zamora, whom I already presented, or Fabio, who is our managing partner in Brazil. He's Brazilian, Italian from origin, and he is developing all the strategy there. So as a summary, in order to leave time for a couple of questions, we present ourselves as a highly innovative impact company, and we want to provide benefits to our community through new botanical products. We hold first and only cannabis cultivation license in the country. We have access to a broad array of non-cannabis botanical products, and we have the flexibility to be able to manufacture under GMP standard, okay, through our facility on site in the farm. At this moment, we are guiding the close of the year to have revenues around $100,000. That's all the sales that we're doing is 100% in Peru. We're aiming to get beyond $1 million next year with the new launches. And at this moment, we are going through our Series B funding. We're looking to raise $1 million. We are already halfway. It has been great to be here in Benzinga. These guys really know what they're doing. And if there's any interest to joining forces with us, there is my contact information. And I'm easily found in LinkedIn, where I constantly upload some communications. Well, thank you very much. I still have some time left if there's any questions. Thank you.
All right, y'all. KUMARA Farms, Andres Vazquez. Any questions? I have several. I know you people are smart. Ask some questions. All right, Andres. So I'm super interested in the consumer base for the non-cannabis plants. Are you looking at the same consumers? Are you expanding your base? Does it narrow it in? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. The idea is that we are trying to focus on a segment of the market that is first conscious of their health and well-being, that is taking steps into managing their own health, but that are open to different alternatives in healthcare treatments. So at this moment, we have done some work with some former executives of cannabis companies, okay, to be honest, and that live here in the States, and they are helping us guiding to those profile of consumers, okay, that are basically very open-minded in the treatments that they are approaching. A basic initial study shows us that if you consider all CBD consumers in the US, this profile fits around 15% of them. So it's kind of a niche within the CBD market, but at the same time, I mean, we are not aiming to be like the largest massive cannabis company. If we identify our consumers properly, I'm sure that we can provide the benefits that they're looking for.
You know, there's some sentiment out there within the US that with MSOs, if you're not already one of them, being in a single state perhaps is the way to go in developing depth of your market versus breadth. Is it the same in a country like Peru or in Latin America?
I would say that Peru is very early to really to have an opinion on what is the best strategy. Right now, the companies that are active there, that probably 4 or 5 companies that are already selling products in the country. Some of them are already specialized in one segment of the market, and some of them are trying to do everything in cannabis. We are remaining very, I would say, very focused on what we do at this moment, preparing to an expansion through our other botanicals. Now, to be honest, I don't see other companies in the region expanding into other botanicals As a matter of fact, I was very intrigued when I see 1906 presentation because they were talking about a new plant. And that's the way that we're going to go.
Awesome. Any questions? I have one more, but all right. So I will go for one more. So you have a social kind of impact within your company.
Totally.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So for example, again, as an impact company, that's a goal for us. I mean, it's not only financial return, but that. So for example, we have achieved an agreement with some patients association in the country. Okay, they have very legitimate claims. They have obtained the approval of a law for collective growth, for example, very recently, okay, which we support. Now, they still will need to cover some of the requirements on security, for example, the camera, the fences, and all that. So what we've done is we have offered them a space within our farm, within the security space that we already paid for, so that they can come in and they grow the plants for their own needs. We're going to charge them basic things of what we use. It's not a business for us. It's a way to give back to the people that made the law possible. I mean, if they were not for them, we would not be here talking. So that's one of the approaches that we're taking right now.
I love that. Andres Vazquez, any last questions from the audience? Very talkative bunch. Thank you all for being here, though. Please give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you.
KUMARA Farms.